All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're actually going to do something kind of radical. In a world that is just constantly screaming for our fragmented attention with flashing notifications and that endless, exhausting doom scroll, we're going to do the exact opposite. We are purposely slowing down today to dissect a fascinating piece of source material simply titled The Long-Form Vision. We're going to really look at what it means to intentionally stretch our attention spans, especially when literally everything around us in the modern digital ecosystem is explicitly designed to shrink them.
But hey, before we even get into the core text, I really want you to take a second and reflect on your own daily habits. Are we moving too fast? Seriously, think about it. How many tabs do you have open on your browser right this exact second? Or how often do you just skip ahead when a video doesn't 100% hook you in the very first 3 seconds? Finding our focus matters today more than ever, mostly because our cognitive endurance is just actively being eroded by the tools we use every day. If we're constantly sprinting through information, just skimming headlines and watching things on 2 times speed, what are we actually failing to absorb? It's like we end up completely full of data but totally starving for context.
And that brings us directly to the absolute core excerpt of our source material. It's really just 2 incredibly simple but completely revolutionary words: long video. Honestly, that is the absolute entirety of the text we're analyzing today from the long-form vision. It is incredibly stark, it's unapologetically minimalist, but within these 2 little words lies this profoundly huge directive. It's a massive pushback against the current tide of hyper-short, totally disposable content. It is a literal demand for our time, our patience, and our willingness to sit with a subject until we actually understand its nuances. Now, from just those 2 words, we can extrapolate an entire overarching philosophy, right? It's what we call the long-form vision. It's a major conceptual shift. It basically requires us to stop treating information like a quick dopamine hit and instead treat it as an extended journey of discovery. Extended focused content forces the creator to be thorough, sure, but almost more importantly, it forces you, the viewer, to be fully engaged. It sets up this mutual contract of respect for the subject matter. You aren't just passively consuming anymore, you're dedicating a real, substantial block of your life to deep, uninterrupted comprehension. And when we truly isolate those words again, we can just kind of meditate on the immense space and pacing they demand. Think about the word long for a second. It inherently implies an investment. It implies that a narrative, or maybe a complex data set or a nuanced argument, it simply refuses to be squeezed into a 15-second soundbite without losing its fundamental essence. A long video creates this really unique temporal space where nuance can actually survive. It gives us that absolutely crucial breathing room, the space for the natural ebb and flow of complex ideas to be fully mapped out, debated, and just thoroughly explored. Because look, the real power here, it doesn't just come from a massive number of minutes on a timeline, it comes from what those minutes actually unlock. When you remove that constant, overwhelming pressure to be punchy and instantly gratifying, you unlock authentic storytelling. You unlock comprehensive education. The real power of the long video is its ability to rewire our brains back to a state of sustained contemplation. Think of it like the difference between grabbing fast food in your car versus sitting down for a multi-course meal. One fills you up super fast, but the other actually nourishes you. It takes time to digest, and it lets you connect dots you would normally just speed right past. We are looking at a really stark contrast here. On one hand, you've got that exhausting sugar rush of short-term thinking. That fleeting attention that spikes your interest and then immediately drops you, leaving you endlessly scrolling for the next quick fix. The algorithmic feed is literally designed to keep you moving, never lingering long enough to question or deeply understand anything. But then, on the other hand, you have the enduring, deliberate value of the long video. It's a slow burn. And what this shows us is that we're making an active trade-off every single time we choose how we consume our information. We're constantly deciding whether to trade depth for convenience. So, that begs the question, how does just making something longer magically transform it into a visionary experience? Well, it becomes visionary because it boldly dares to defy the algorithms that ruthlessly prioritize speed over substance. It requires vision from the creator to weave and sustain a compelling thread for an extended period, and honestly, it requires vision from you, the focused learner, to recognize that the most valuable insights rarely come easy. They take actual time to unearth and process. The duration itself is basically the crucible where raw, scattered information is finally forged into actual usable wisdom. Now, actually engaging with this material requires a very deliberate 2-part process. You can't just stumble into it passively and hope to get the full value out of it.
First, you have to mentally embrace the vision. That means actively shifting your mindset before you even press play. You have to accept and really welcome the fact that you are about to invest your time. And then second, you actually have to commit to it. That means putting the phone down, closing the dozens of other open tabs, and immersing yourself completely in the narrative unfolding right in front of you. It is an active, mindful discipline, and yeah, it takes practice. And ultimately, our source text is pointing toward a future that is defined entirely by this deeper format. As people inevitably start to burn out on the sheer superficiality of fleeting media, which we're already seeing the beginnings of, by the way, the pendulum is naturally going to swing back. The future is long form, because we, as human beings, inherently crave deep connection, profound understanding, and stories that actually matter to our lives. The source text, as incredibly minimal as it is, acts as this brilliant little signpost pointing away from all the endless noise and straight toward a much quieter, far more substantial media landscape.
Okay, let's just boil this all down to its absolute essence to make sure we're perfectly on the same page. We have the long-form vision as the internal philosophical shift, the part that prioritizes patience, focus, and depth. And then we have the long video itself as the physical proof of that shift. It's the tangible artifact, right? The actual real-world output demonstrating that this entire philosophy is actively being put into practice. The mind shift creates the medium, and the medium reinforces the mind shift. They work perfectly in tandem to elevate how we learn and how we connect.
So we're going to wrap up this explainer with a final thought that I really hope sticks with you long after we're done here. Are you actually ready to slow down? Seriously, the next time you have to choose between a 30-second summary and a deep, extended presentation, which one is it going to be? Because the source material we examined today heavily suggests that true, lasting value lies in the length, the depth, and the commitment. The long video is waiting for you. The only real question left is, are you focused enough to watch it?